There are two blessings about which many people are deluded. As-sihhatu wal-faragh. Good health and spare time. The delusion with regards to spare time is the idea that there is in fact time to spare. Reality is that there is no time to spare, because we will be asked about every second of our lives. So if that is the case, then really there is no time to spare. If there's time in our lives where we'll not be asked, it was vacation time, it was spare time, then in that period of time we would be free to do whatever we wished. However, Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had said, لا تزول قدم عبد يوم القيامة حتى يسأل عن أربع. The 2 feet of a slave of Allah will not move from their place on the day of resurrection until he or she is asked about 4 things. عن عمره فيما أفنى. First, on his life and how he spent it. وعن شبابه فيما أبلى. And on his youth and how he utilized it. And it goes on to speak about his wealth, from where he obtained it and how he spent it. What concerns us most is on his life, the period of his life, umrihi, and how he spent it, how he utilized it. So that's the whole of our existence. From the time we come into this world and we have control over our time till the time we leave this world, we will be asked about every minute, every second, every hour, every day, etc. So there really is no spare time, no free time. Allah tells us, فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانصَبْ. If you have completed your worship, the act of worship which was required of you at that particular time, we just completed the fard of Salatul Zuhur. What is the next thing to do? Fansab means go on to your next act of ibadah. The Sunnah, reading Quran, dhikrullah, whatever. We just transfer from one act to another. That's how our lives are supposed to be. And that's why Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, oftentimes he told us to seek refuge in Allah at the end of our prayers. We're told to seek refuge in Allah from the trials of living and dying. Fitnat al-mahya wal-mamat. The trials of living refer to utilizing that time according to how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us in the Quran, قُلْ إِنَّ صَلَاتِي وَنُسُكِي وَمَحْيَايَ وَمَمَاتِي لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. Say, indeed, my sacrifices, my prayers, my living and my dying are for Allah, the Lord of all the worlds. So for the believer, all of his or her life is supposed to be dedicated to Allah. Meaning, there is no spare time. If all of the life is dedicated, there is no spare time. if we are supposed to shift from one act of worship to another, there is no spare time. All of our life is supposed to be transformed into worship. If we successfully make that transformation, then we will be fulfilling the commandment, فَإِذَا فَرَغْتَ فَانْصَبْ. But if we don't make that transformation, where we engage ourselves in acts wherein we don't remember Allah's Quranic command. And Al-Hasan al-Basri, he was known to say, whenever a new day comes, it says to humankind, I am a new day, and I am a witness to your deeds. And if I go, I will never come back. If I go, I will never come back. With each new day, that day becomes a witness to the deeds that we do in those days. And every minute which goes, every hour, we cannot bring it back again. It is gone. So either we make the best of that time, or we waste it. We kill it. We spend it on that which will not benefit us in this life or the next. In another statement, Al-Hasan al-Basri, and Al-Hasan al-Basri is among the tabi'in, who was known for his zuhud. Most of the various Sufi orders which developed a contrary program of worship parallel to the Sharia, which they called the Haqiqah. When they trace their practices back, they always or usually will trace it through Al-Hasan al-Basri. So if one, al-Basri meaning is from Basra, his name is Al-Hasan, one would think that he was a leading Sufi, but reality, when one goes to see who he was one of the leading scholars of mainstream Islam. He was not a Sufi. The practices that have developed in all of the various turuq or tariqas of Sufiya cannot be traced to him. He was not known to teach these things. But people will put his name there in order to give validity to their practice. Like Christians will put the name Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John on the Gospels to give validity to these Gospels. Though Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John had nothing to do with these Gospels at all. And they're not really even sure who was Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. In the case of Hasan Basri, we know who he is. But point is, they will use his name. He said, O son of Adam, you are only days. You, in the totality of your existence, is only a group of days. If one day passes, a part of you is gone. That is our reality. We are only a group of days. When one goes, we have lost something of ourselves. We can't bring it back, as we said. So it means then that we cannot afford to allow any day to go by without having maximized our benefit from those days. Abdullah ibn Umar, he was known to say, إذا أصبحت فلا تنتظر المساء. If you wake up in the morning, don't wait until the evening. Don't put off anything that you have to do until the evening. Because the evening is not yours. What is yours is the morning. That morning in which you exist, that is yours. You can utilize it or you can allow it to escape you. Don't put it off until the evening. And he said, وَإِذَا أَمْسَيْتَ فَلَا تَنْتَظِرُ الصَّبَاحِ. And if you are in the evening, you've reached the evening, then don't wait until the morning, the next morning. Don't put off what you have to do that evening, that you're able to do. Don't put it off until the next morning. Because again, the next morning, tomorrow morning is not ours. This evening is. This evening, this afternoon, we are now in Al-Masa. After noon. Noon has passed. We're now in the afternoon. This afternoon is ours. So whatever we can do now, whatever we have to do now, we should do it. Because none of us can guarantee tomorrow. Make every second count. And there's a famous statement, you could call it an Arabic proverb, Al-waqtu kas-sayf. Time is like a sword. In lam taqta'hu qata'ak. If you don't cut it, it will cut you. Time is like a sword. Either you cut it and benefit from it, or it cuts you and you lose. So we're talking about the importance of maximizing our time. And Prophet Muhammad ﷺ had reinforced that in the hadith in which he told us to be like a stranger or a traveler. In this world we should be like a stranger or a traveler. The stranger is keen, the traveler is keen to utilize the time that is afforded to him or to her. So what we are addressing here, if we try to put it into practical terms, how do we practically now maximize? We've understood from the Quran, from the Sunnah, we are supposed to make every second count. But how do we do it in practical terms? Well, it means that we must plan. We must have a plan. We must identify the time that we have and plan to utilize it effectively. However, some people argue that if you're planning, then in fact you're not really trusting in Allah. That you really shouldn't plan, work things out in detail, because who's to say it is going to happen as you plan it? So it is better to just go with the flow. Take things as they come. Be spontaneous rather than planning out every second, every hour. They say no, it's not good. In fact, to plan is really to challenge Allah. His attribute of being Al-Mudabbir. Some scholars hold that this is one of the names of Allah. Al-Mudabbir, as Allah said in Surah Sajda, 32nd chapter, verse 5, يُدَبِّرُ الْأَمْرَ مِنَ السَّمَاءِ إِلَى الْأَرْضِ. He plans the affairs of the heavens to the earth. So, planning is Allah. It's for Allah. Leave the plan to Allah. We just work within whatever Allah has planned for us. However, though this may be a point of argument, and those who tend to argue this come from the Turuq, the Sufi path, reality is that we plan. We plan all the time. In fact, even the simplest acts that we have to do them effectively, we plan for them. That's reality. You want to go to the store, you write out a plan of the things you want to go and buy there. Otherwise, you go there and you'll bumble around trying to remember, oh, what should I buy? Something. You end up buying things you didn't even come there to buy. So you have a plan, you make a plan, you make a list, so that you maximize your time. You go in there, buy what you need and get out. That's real life. That's what we do. This masjid didn't come about without a plan. We want to change the carpet, we make a plan. We want to build anything, you have to make a plan. If you don't have a plan, what do you end up with? Chaos. In the real world, we plan all the time. And in fact, it is so important that business people developed a proverb: if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. Everybody recognizes that. You fail to make a plan, then you have in fact planned to fail. And researchers looking at this whole issue of planning, they concluded that in a non-planning environment where you do things without a plan, 80% of your efforts will tend to produce only 20% of the results you're seeking. Whereas in a planning environment, it's the opposite. 20% of your efforts will produce 80% of the results. So it is clear from research, practical life, we know that planning is necessary. If we are to utilize our time effectively, then it needs to be in accordance with some plan. However, in order to remove the doubts that may be there concerning whether practically, Islamically, we should actually plan things out or not, we need to look at Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. Look at his life. What was his life? Was it a spontaneous existence where he went with the flow however things came? Or was he planning? Was he constantly and systematically planning? We need to know that from the seerah. This will give us the confidence to say, yes, we must be planning. If we are to succeed, if we are to effectively maximize our time, then we must plan systematically.